Hello and welcome to NulSec 101. I am Tom, this is Xion Gaming, and this absolute beauty right here is the Nidhogger class carrier. Now, I'm using this ship in particular. There are 4 carriers, one for each race, but I'm using this one in particular because of the bonuses it gets. Now, obviously can fit negatives and 0-8, that's all stuff there that you don't need to worry about. This stuff up here is the really important stuff. So, 5 is the bonus to fighter damage, because I've got Mimitar carrier 4. That means that I'm getting a 20% bonus to the actual damage the fighters put out. Now, there are 2 ships that get that and 2 ships that don't. The 2 ships that do get that are the Nidhogger itself and the Thanatos, the Galente carrier. And there's also the Chimera and the Archon. Now, they don't get the fighter damage bonus. What they do get, however, is they get a resistance bonus. So they're a lot harder to kill. Now, the other thing this gets is it gets a 2.5% bonus to fighter velocity per level, which means I've now got a 10% faster fighters than any other carrier. The Thanatos does not get this. It also has Drommy status amplification range, which I won't be showing you today. I'm not going to be using Drommy at all. I'm using all light fighters. I'll show you that now, in fact. There we go. So I've got 3 flights of Dragonfly 1s in there. I've also got 3 flights of Templars as well. Now, the Templars are the Amar drones, the Dragonflies are the Caldari drones, and the Caldari drones do kinetic damage, which is what the rats in the system now are weakest against. And because of that, the people who are coming into my system trying to kill me with it being NulSec naturally are going to be tanked against things that I'm going to be firing. So with this being a ratting carrier, it's going to be in a sight, it's going to be killing the Serpentis rats in the area. So I'm going to be using those fighters. Now what somebody's not going to expect is when they drop on me, be to pull in those fighters and pull out 27 fighters of a completely different damage type, which is very important because it means I can kill them faster and hopefully keep my ship alive. Now for the actual fit itself, we're looking here, we have 3 fighter support units. They're all Tech 2. Now they are quite expensive at the moment. I do expect them to drop down in price quite dramatically when they start being more popular and more available. We have the network sensor array. It does not have a Tech 2 variant, but if it does, I cannot wait for that to come out at some point. What that does there is that actually gives you a 900% bonus to your ship's scan resolution. Now that means you can lock things 10 times faster. But we'll move on to the rest of the fit. So I also have fitted a Sinusoidal field. What that means is it's a deep space beacon, so any capital ships in the area, if they do want to assist me, things like Force Auxiliaries, which are the new massive repping boats, because they are brilliant. If I do get tackled, if I do get Black Ops ships or stealth bombers drop on top of me, it does mean that because of that, thankfully, I can get some support instead of waiting for it to jump through gates, and that takes forever, and I'll probably be dead by that point as well. I've also got in here 2 drone navigation computers and 2 adaptive invulnerability fields. Now, most people would say when you're running, it's very important to stick with the damage types that your enemy's putting out, so in this case, kinetic and thermal. Myself, I prefer to go, especially with the carrier, it's a big ship, it can handle a lot of damage. Just go for an all-round setup so if somebody, again, does drop on top of you, you're completely safe and you're not going to have to worry about what damage type they're firing. I've also got in here a shield booster. It is a Concord Capital Shield booster that I made myself because I'm awesome. I run incursions as well. I'll show you guys some of that in a later video, which means that I can get the Concord loyalty points to get the Concord blueprints for the really big, really shiny capital size modules. Shield boost amplifier in there because I had a spare mid slot, a bit of spare CPU, and I thought, sod it, why not? I'll make my tank even better. And in the low slots here, I've got 3 drone damage amplifiers. Basically, they amplify the damage that drones do. Pretty much sums it up. And 2 omnidirectional tracking enhancers. Now they're a passive module that increase the range and also the tracking speed of your fighter, so basically makes them more agile. And then up here in the rigs, I've also got 3 capital capacitor control circuits, alliteration much, just to give me that extra little bit of cap. And of course it means that when I swap over to my capacitor fit, because I have a capacitor fit basically set up to give me as much capacitor as possible so I can continue repairing my ship. I have a shield fit, which means that I can get as much resistance as I possibly can from those shields while I've got other people repping me if someone's trying to kill me. And I've also got an armor fit. If for some reason I do end up losing all my shields and ending up in armor, it can give me that few extra seconds I need just to basically live long enough to either get support, finish off the last few fighters, or scream freedom as I die. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to undock. we're going to warp off to a site, and we're going to do that site. I'm going to tell you guys why I'm doing what I'm doing as I'm doing it. Very important that you do things a certain way in sites to make them faster. It's also very important you do it a certain way to make them safer. Now, when it finally loads, there we go. Now, I have turned off everything here, guys, so you can't see where I am. You can see in local there, I've got a few of my alliance mates, and they're also putting in 3 letters. Now, they're the 3 letters of the site that they're currently doing. As you can see here, you've got the ID, 3 letters, 3 numbers. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go off to, let's have a look here, see what's good. There we go, 1 AU, nope, 1.7 AU. I'm going to warp to 100 from that, and I'm going to tell them I'm doing, no I'm not. Let's see what's good. I'm going to go to the Haven of ABH. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell these guys what I'm doing. And I'm going to warp off to that site at 100. Gives me that nice buffer, so if anything does land at 0, I've got a hell of a long way before they actually get to me. Turn on my shield hardness here as well. Now if I do go ahead and try to put that network sensor away, I can't. You can't physically activate it in warp, but it doesn't delay you from warping. If you warp, it'll just turn it off, which is fantastic. And then what I'll do is I'll see you guys at the site. So I'm now landing in the Splentis Haven itself. What I'm going to do is the second I land, I'm going to swap over to my inventory. I've got my fleet hangar and I've got a mobile depot there. First thing I'm going to do is, even before I leave warp, I'm going to drag it out of my inventory just into space. And then as I see that stop going, as I see that go from warping, there we go, I'm going to immediately drop that and put the network sensor array on. Now there are no frigates at the beginning of this spawn, but what I would normally do is lock up all the frigates and kill them as soon as possible. Launch fighters there, and then just 1 2 on the keyboard. And what that does is that starts blaster cannon out of the micro warp drive and gets those fighters in there as soon as humanly possible. As you can see, those fighters there are going at 12,000 meters a second, and those things are incredibly fast, especially with, as I say, the drone navigation computers I've got on there and the latent bonus from the Nidhogger itself. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through with these battle cruisers and cruisers and just put 1 fighter squadron on each, because that's basically overkill without doing all 3. Now it does mean that they'll kill each one slower, because of the cooldown of the weapons. It's about a 5-second cycle. It means that I'm going to be able to get all of that DPS on there as soon as possible and keep it on. Then what I'm going to do is, as it moves on to battleships, I'm going to lock up the battleships. I've missed a couple there, so I'll finish those off, and then I'm just going to add the fighters onto the battleships as and when they become available. The other thing you can do here is we do have the missile salvo. I'll use that one on that cruiser there because it's taking a little while to kill. Now what that does is it creates a massive amount of damage towards a target. I believe it also ignores signature radius, but I'll need to double check that one because I've had a couple of squiffy ones with interceptors. But as you can see, I'm killing that battleship nicely there, so I'm not even going to bother putting that last squad of fighters on. As you can see, it died already. I'm just going to put them all on there now. Now with those missiles themselves, powerful special attack must be rearmed periodically. Now what that means is it's actually got a counter there. You can see the little numbers. Once that number hits 0, it can't use that anymore. You have to pull them in and they have to rearm, which is annoying if someone drops on you. You've got none left because you use them all on the rats. I like to save a few of them just to be on the safe side. And of course remember, the more of those you use, the longer it's going to take to refuel your fighters and rearm them. And that does actually have a timer before you can remove them from the launch tubes, which yes, CCP is incredibly annoying. So I'm just going to continue killing these battleships. Of course I'm always watching local, always looking around at governments that's going on, and I'm always keeping an eye on my fighters as well, because those fighters can be damaged. I'm going to leave them there for a second just so you can see that. Come on, hit them. Never mind, apparently the Splentis are terrible today. Don't want to shoot my fighters. So what we're going to do is I'm going to continue doing this. If you guys have got any questions at all, put them for me in the comments. But what I'll do, I'm just going to leave this to it until the next wave comes in. I'm going to tell you how I deal with the next wave, because the next wave does in fact have frigates in it. So I'll let you kind of sit back for a second, listen to the music. Okay, so we're coming to the end of wave now. As you can see, my fighters are damaged. Immediately, as soon as they land, I want to lock up those frigates. Now, as you can see, that's incredibly fast. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to go to each of the 3 frigates, activate the blasters on the fighters, and then activate the micro warp drive. Again, with the start of the site, it's very important to get your fighters from where they were to where they're going to kill as soon as possible. So I use those at the beginning of every wave and to get the carrier, the fighters back to my carrier as soon as humanly possible. Now the fighters have in fact been damaged since I said the Spenders didn't want to kill them. I've got one fighter there is 5% damage. Now, until a fighter is dead, none of the other fighters will take any damage at all. And that's very good for you. It means that no matter how much DPS is shooting your fighters, they're going to die one at a time. Now they are going to die, they do cost around 6 million ISK each, and I am using 27 of them, which is kind of a double-edged sword. But it brings massive advantages to the longevity of your fighters. Now again, I'm going to go through these cruisers one by one and just kill those off, and then when I get down to a few, look at the battleships, and as you can see there, one of them was locked before the last one had even been clicked to lock, which is fantastic news. And again, just move the fighter across from the dead one onto the new one, and as they die, again I'm going to use the missile salvo on that one just to speed it up. You can put it straight on there. They don't need to be synced up, but it is good if they are. So if you are deploying straight in, this is not good. What I've done here is I've actually spawned a wave, so I need to make sure that these battleships die as soon as possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move on to the next battleship with my missiles, use all 3 salvos at once, and then set one set of fighters on there. Now it's quite dangerous when it does happen, because it is possible that if you ignore the frigates, they will come at your ship, they will tackle you, and if for some reason you can't kill them, which is again very possible, they can actually destroy you. They can actually get your ship destroyed if a neutral or a hostile does come in. And again, I'll just leave the 2 fighter squadrons on that battleship there. Let this number 2 squadron in the middle here finish off that frigate, and then put the other 2 squadrons on. Now, it's not incredibly important that you kill everything in order or that it's all pretty. I just prefer it that way. It just seems like more common sense in my head. Now again, that frigate has died, so I'm going to move all the fighters over to this one that are available. I like to kill the last wave before I kill all the little stuff from the next wave, because it means that in that time there, like for example this battleship here, if I look at it there, that battleship is actually trying to kill my fighters now. And it's actually trying to kill the squadron I zoomed in on, which is quite handy. Which means that if I was off killing frigates and stuff, if that's 10-20 kilometers away, it's much more likely that it's going to be able to track my fighters and kill them, which again, for speed, doesn't really help. Now, the fighters, as you can see over time, do regenerate health. They do regenerate shields, which is fantastic, because you can't give them remote support, so you can't actually remote shield rep them, which is what I thought I'd do originally, and was sharply told by the game that I couldn't do it. Which is annoying, but that's easy. Now I'm going to go ahead and kill these battleships. I'll let you guys listen to music again for a moment, and then we'll come back and I'll tell you what I do with the next wave. I'm sure you grabbed the gist by now, but you never know. We'll see what happens. Okay, so here we are at the beginning of the next wave again. 2 frigates only, so instead of splitting them off, I'm just going to set all 3 fighters on them. It does work out to be faster that way, and with my kind of almost OCD with things being symmetrical, it just works out better in my head. I'm actually using the missiles for the other one, the other fighter I mean, just because it's, again, faster, and I'm also going to use them for the battle cruisers as well, because they only use 1 salvo each. As I say, we're halfway through the site now. I've got a lot of salvos left, so I can afford to just split them up a little bit and use a few of them to make it faster. Now, as you can see, my shields are down to about 88% here. I'm going to leave them as they are for now. My repairer itself, the Concord Shield Rep, it does do 13,000 hit points of damage. Sorry, it does repair 14,000 hit points of damage. And my carrier probably do with gun at about 85 before I start using that. Look at the battleships, and again, just go to work on the battleships. They take about 4 or 5 cycles to kill, which is about 20 to 30 seconds. But as I mentioned earlier on, they're worth a hell of a lot of money. 1.1 million ISK there for that one in particular, and they're all exactly the same. So they're all worth 1.1 million ISK. And then as your fighters become available, just switch them onto the next battleship and go to work. And again, new wave, so frigates first. Now there are 4 here, so again the OCD in my head says kill one of them and stick the fighters into 3, which is absolutely fine. You can do it however you like, as long as you end up killing stuff, and keep your fighters moving is the most important thing you do here. So again, 1, 2, 2, and 3 wings of fighters are on the way there. And I'm just going to pick those off and wipe them out individually. And I'm just going to go ahead, I've already looked at the battle cruisers, just go ahead and lock up those battleships. One of them isn't firing on me, there we go, which gave me the indication that it's probably firing on my fighters, which is never a good thing for your fighters, because again, as I've said, they can get killed and they will die. That one squadron that was damaged has now repaired itself, thankfully, which is fantastic news. And I'm not concentrating because I'm talking to you, and I'm keeping my fighters still, which is a very bad idea, because they will end up getting themselves killed. So I'm going to go ahead and finish off this wave, and I'll see you guys in a sec. And again, another wave with frigates. It's very important again to kill those frigates first. They don't do a massive amount of damage, but they do track the best out of everything in that little fleet they have there, which means they're more likely to track and kill your fighters. Again, with the frigates, I split my fighters up. Some people keep them together. It's entirely a personal choice. Now I'm not going to put my DPS on the battleships because that means they're actually take longer to kill. So again, I'm just going to layer the DPS under there with my fighters as they become available. And you can see here, because of things shooting me in the turrets, things like that, my shield's now down to 82%, so I'm going to give it a burst of shield. Now I've brought it right up to 99% there, which means I know that it does 17% of my shields in one cycle. So I can wait until it gets down to 82, maybe even 80% there before I do that again. Again, I've lost concentration because I'm talking to you about my shields, so my fighters were inactive there. Thankfully everything was shooting me, you can tell that obviously by the red boxes there. The yellow box usually means that, there we go, yellow box usually means that things are wanting to kill you but don't have the range. So that's usually, if you're at 100 kilometers like I am, or 110 from these ones, won't shoot at you until they're inside some kind of effective range. That usually means they'll miss a lot like they are at the moment, but there is a limit on it. As this battleship dies here, I'm going to use it as a salvo, because local's completely empty. And we're now finished the site, which is fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and kill these turrets just for my own personal reasons, because I'm that kind of asshole. And we'll finish the video, guys. So it's been wonderful talking to you, or talking at you more accurately. And I hope now you know how to rat with a carrier in NulSec. Now if you do have any questions, please just go ahead and put them in the description. I will be watching the video. I know you guys probably have a couple of questions about how I do it, ways that you do it differently. What we'll do is I'll put everything together. I may even revisit the video at some point just to tell you guys that things have changed, or that I've updated the way that I do it from the advice that you've given me. And I nearly forgot my mobile depot there. Very important. Those things do cost quite a bit of money, so it's very important to get that scoop there. So guys, I've been Tom Xion. This has been How to Rat in a Carrier. I hope you enjoy, and if you happen to be in 69B, go ahead and tell Joe I said Snickerfritzel, just because it'll make me laugh, because he won't have a clue what the hell I'm on about. Have a good one. I've been Tom Xion. Fly safe.